I'm here today to help you learn how to stop being so sensitive. Are you ready for this? First of all, sensitivity is not a bad thing. I know that it gets in the way sometimes, especially in a relationship, and sometimes in how you feel. You'd like to stop being quite so sensitive, or maybe somebody referred this video to you because they think you're too sensitive. Well, let's just be clear that sensitivity is not a bad thing. I think emotional sensitivity is something that can be a huge personal asset that will help you to actually show up in more brilliant ways in your relationships, in your communications, as a genuine, authentic human being who actually feels stuff. So that's my disclaimer. Now, having said that, sometimes sensitivity gets in our way. So it's good to understand a few things about how to manage that. Along those lines, let's go to the equestrian world for a moment. I grew up in an agricultural town where there were a lot of cows and horses and chickens and goats, and I learned something about bridles. If you have ever ridden a horse, you know exactly what a bridle is. And what is it actually? It's an apparatus that fits over the head of the horse. It's connected to a bit that's inside of the horse's mouth. And the bridle's purpose is to what? Take away the power of the horse? No, it's to steer it. I think we're going to look at emotional sensitivity in this way. We want to bridle it, okay? We don't want to shoot it between the eyes. We don't want to kill the power of that beautiful horse. We want to bridle it or steer it, guide it in a direction that it can actually be productive. And that's what a bridle does to a horse. So in thinking about the bridle for our emotions, that might give us some ways to think about it and talk about it that could be really helpful. So in bridling this sensitivity, let's first become more aware of it. And I would specifically invite you to take a look at what your triggers are. Triggers, when I'm talking about emotional sensitivity, are whatever it is that tips you off, that gives you the start for this sensitive experience. Usually we can identify when we don't feel quite right. You know, when we're already into an emotional reaction. So let's back it up from there a little bit. What happened just before that? I remember when my kids were young and one of them would come up and say, "Dad, he hit me." And my response would always be, "What happened just before he hit you?" Because they leave out that information. We can tell when we're having an emotional response, but like my kids, let's go to what happened just before that. Back it up and see what happened just before you started to feel emotionally tipped over. Usually it's some kind of an event or a communication or an incident that triggered that for you. And there's something about the incident that was triggering. So you might back up and say, well, just before I got emotionally tipped over, we were having this heated conversation. Okay, what was it about the heated conversation that triggered you? I felt accused, or I felt ignored, or I felt accused, or I felt blamed for something. Okay, those are your triggers. Just notice them. I'm not even saying you need to do anything about stopping the triggers or responding to them differently. We'll get to that. But notice them, recognize them, and start to monitor what are my triggers. You're probably going to find that certain things tend to trigger you. Well, that's helpful information. Knowing that will give us a way to start addressing it differently. So recognize it and monitor it. Once we're in this place of recognizing and monitoring so that we're aware of the triggers, now we can start to do a little bit of psychological work on these. And here's what I would suggest. Rethink the triggers in a way that allows you to take it less personally. Almost always, the triggers are becoming personalized. Do you know what I mean by that? You feel it, right? When the trigger happens and you take it personally, you feel like it's about you. You feel like it's intentional. You feel like it's coming at you personally. Well, let's reframe it in a way that allows you to take it less personally. Most triggers get tied back to the behavior or the words or the thoughts of somebody else. Thoughts, you don't even know what their thoughts are. But what if their words are what triggered you? Okay, how can we reframe that in a way that allows you to take it less personally? The personal part of this is that it happened to you. The impersonal part doesn't matter that it was you. Could have been anybody in that circumstance. So if you can mentally take yourself out of the triggering incident and mentally insert someone else, like me, for example, you can use me if you want to. Take yourself out of there, put me in that situation. What would I experience? Probably the same thing, because the same things are happening, right? So it doesn't matter that it was you, it just happens to be you, and that's why you take it so personally. Let's back off from that. It could have been anyone in your circumstance. This is almost universally true. If you go through a divorce, well, that's easy to take personally, but what if it was somebody else in that situation? Then it maybe would have happened to them instead. Do you see what I'm saying? Reframe the experience. Let's take it less personally. That's going to help us to bridle, put the controls on our emotional sensitivity. I'm going to go out on a little bit of a limb here, but I'm pretty confident about this one because of the research that I've done personally, the clinical experience that I have in psychology. Almost always, when we're feeling emotionally triggered and that emotional sensitivity kicks in, it's all about us. It's all about me. That's a little selfish in some ways, but beyond the selfishness of it, let's take a look at what happens if you shift your focus instead of on me to other people. This is one of the fastest ways I know to address anxiety, because when we're feeling nervous or self-conscious or insecure about something and that emotional sensitivity is kind of kicking our trash for a moment, who are we focused on? Yeah, do you see it? The self-focus is what perpetuates the anxiety. So shifting our focus off of ourselves onto other people. And just try this. In whatever interactions you find to be triggering, simply ask yourself, I wonder how that person is feeling about themselves. See, it's not about you, and how you feel is only secondary. Our focus is now shifting to how other people feel about themselves. The interesting thing that happens, this immediately puts some social distance. Have you heard enough about that during the pandemic? But this is a different kind of social distance between you and the issue. Now you're looking at it from outside because it's not about me or how I feel. I can look at it as something that's over there, not over here. That changes the game. When your focus shifts to other people, you just put enough distance in there that you can now reframe this more easily to take it less personally, like we already discussed. But this also puts you in a powerful position to do something different with the situation. You get to show up differently in this relationship because you just gave yourself enough space that now you can make a different choice, different decision about where you're going to go with this. The principles that I'm sharing with you here are simple. Simple and easy are not the same thing. And sometimes it helps to have a coach. I don't know if you have a coach yet. You might consider bringing me onto your team. I'd be honored and happy to fill that role for you. I've also got a team of coaches that I've trained and certified. Best place to find that is at Live on Purpose Central. Go.liveonpurposecentral.com. come over and see what's available to you. We can also get you onto a free breakthrough call with one of our coaches. go.liveonpurposecentral.com.
Look into my eyes and never let it go.